Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Diana. And
Hi.
today is the episode 2 of Ask Us Relationship Series 2. And our focus today is all around parenting. So it's a fun topic. Let's dive into it.
Yeah, so this is your wheelhouse, Natasha, and I'll chime in and give my 2 cents as well. But let's have a conversation around this particular question, which is, I think, it happens to a lot of kids these days. So the question is, how can I help my 8-year-old who tends to be over self-critical and perfectionistic, despite my consistent effort to provide praise, patience, and support, as well as modeling confidence and self-love?
My take is that we all do it, and especially in this day and age, most parents do this a lot with the hope that it will boost their children's self-esteem. People think, or parents think, that if we say that, oh, you are so smart all the time, oh, if you look beautiful all the time, they think that it's going to boost their children's confidence. But it does have a slightly opposite effect to what we think. So praise, if you think about it, praise is always seen as it's a comment on the doer. We need to shift it to encouragement. Now you would think, it's it's kind of the same thing, praise, encouragement, but there are two different things, even if we look in the dictionary. So praise is giving approval, whereas encouragement, giving support, giving confidence, and giving hope. So we need to shift the mindset from praising the doer, so praising the person, and shifting to encouraging words, which is focusing on the act, the action, the doing. So if I give you an example, just to make sense of what I'm saying, and the question itself says, the mother who has put the question, she said, I give a lot of praise. I model it as well. So now it could be, the praise could be, oh, wow, you are so good at this, right? And the child goes, oh, I'm so good at this. Now just imagine you said that to your child did something really, really good, right? And you said, you are so good at this. The next minute, say, and then in 5 minutes' time, your child just spilled milk all over the floor. And in frustration, you went, you are so clumsy. You are so bad at this. Now, in the child's mind, they take things very literally. In their mind, they're like, whoa, am I good or am I bad? Right? So they cannot distinguish. So if we keep praising them constantly, you're so good, you're so smart, it creates a belief that I am this. They then find it hard to make mistakes because they believe this is me. I have to keep this image. If they make a mistake, they beat themselves about it. They don't want to try anything that's going to make them fail. But instead, if we focus on the action, so if your child, say, in the same scenario, if the child came and he's done something really good, let's say he's got really good grades, or he passed with good grades in his test. He came home, and instead of focusing on the grade and saying, "Oh, you got an A, well done, you are such a good boy," we could say, "Oh, your hard work has really paid off. Well done." So what is the child hearing now? That it's his hard work, his effort that he's put in, that's helping him get the grade, not just him.
Focusing on the effort rather than the child, or that we wish the child to be, right? and it's more being specific around what it is about the strength of the child, the character and the strength that they're exhibiting during that kind of challenges, and what it is to remember that they are the strong person who reached that goal. So it's an accumulation of your hard work, your character, and who you are as a person, and this is a product of that, right? And that's really beautiful. How do you then address the perfectionistic side of children these days? Where do you think that is coming from?
Yeah. So again, it could be this, right? Excessive praise, excessively telling them that you are a certain way. So they want, and it's that external validation,
Mm.
because they're getting a boost from the parent that, oh, when I do a certain thing, when I look a certain way, or I do something a certain way, that's when I get praise.
Mm.
And that's constantly there. So I need to be good at this in order to get that praise. So it's almost external. They're looking for something external rather than internal. And that's where the work of parents come, where we need to focus on encouraging words, because it's building them up from inside rather
Mm.
than just putting those words on the plate. Wow, you've you've done this so well, but it's you are the best at doing this.
Mm.
Okay, I'm the best at, say, for example, I'm the best at dancing. If I'm the best at dancing, it needs to be super good, because that's when my parent or whoever it is or other people are going to like me. But say if they're not good at something else, they won't even try that, because they want that constant boost, constant validation, constant affirmation that I am this, you are this, but not coming from within, but from outside.
It's really important also to encourage a space for our children to let their emotions just all out. When children tend to be more perfectionist, there is an underlying motivation around what you said. It's like an external validation, but be curious around, why is it that it is more important for my child to reach that external validation than in their who they are as a person, and cultivating their strength and really seeing that strength. And oftentimes there is a belief that is motivating that, and it stems from either shame or guilt, and that has to be something that, if we become aware of it, uh, we can address that. And there is nothing there as a parent that we need to fix. It is more about, we become the container for our children to just let all of those concerns out. And it is our listening ears that oftentimes the children these days really need to be heard and seen. And there is nothing that we need to do to fix them, because there's nothing wrong with being a perfectionist. It's okay. And what we can do is to also reframe, what is perfectionism? When we understand what the motivation for our children, why they strive to be perfect, looking beyond the behavior. So understanding the motivation in their heart, what they're trying to achieve. And oftentimes you will see that they really just care. And to highlight that when they're being the perfectionist, is to encourage them and say, wow, I can see that you really care, that you really care to be really good at this. And let's backtrack a little bit and say, what is it about, that you're scared about. When you're perfectionist, there is a fear that is motivating that. And oftentimes it is about failure, shame, what their friends are going to say, what the teachers is going to say, I don't want to be, in the limelight of who did the bad thing. So there's a shame and the guilt part of it. And so to reframe whatever it is that the child has a belief around failure, to encourage them that failure is actually a really good thing. That's when we learn. That is part of our growth. And so if we only strive to be perfect, we discard or disown parts of failure, rejection, and those kinds of experiences creates the grit that we need, the resilience that we need, and to become a really strong person growing up. So I think we need to reframe those kinds of belief system that our children is having around what is it to be perfect. And it's often when they understand that there's no such thing as perfect and that there's only best I can.
Correct.
Right. And so when you do the best you can, it's who you are as a person, and highlight that, and to be the container to hold the space, to listen, to support. And there's nothing there that you need to do as a parent to fix, because your child is the way they are. They are people who are experiencing those kinds of emotions, and we have to support that because that's their own growth. That's their own journey. And so if we keep projecting the shoulds of the world onto them, they just get really confused around how to be and to align their heart and their soul in becoming the person that they're meant to be. So that's my 2 cents around perfectionism.
Yeah, and it's modeling as well, isn't it? If we could say all that we want to say, right? But it's again, how do we behave around them? How do we accept failure? How do we behave when something has gone wrong? Right? If we made a mistake, what are the words we say? Sometimes we just say things, right? Sometimes it comes out so like we don't even think about it. And say if I made a mistake, say if I dropped my shopping bag and everything just fell on the floor and we just, oh, silly me. Ah, I didn't even do this right, did I? And we just said it, right? But who is listening? Our kids are listening to what we say, what we do. Again, it can feel like a lot of pressure on the parent, but it's not about putting pressure on yourself. It's about just being aware of the words we speak, be aware of the things we do around our kids. And when we do, we catch ourselves, we just say, okay, there it is. Let me do better next time. Right? It's not to put any pressure on ourselves because this is a practice.
It's definitely a practice. It's also modeling self-compassion and grace and empathy towards yourself. And so when you see that, when your children sees that you are also compassionate towards yourself and giving yourself some grace when you have made mistakes, that you can extend that towards them. And the language that we use around our children is also very important, because it's the seeds that gets planted. It is about the action that they see and they witness, and your responses to situation is where they create their own perception about how the world works.
Yeah.
And so say for example, you know, when you have made mistakes and then you're so hard on yourself, when the child sees that, they'll say, wow, I can't make mistakes because my mom will get mad, or I'll get in trouble, or I better, you know, be the best of the best because I don't want to be shamed in my group of friends or my school, or be labeled as. And accepting who you are for all the emotions that you feel, to say that I need some space and time to feel whatever it is that you are feeling in those moments. And your children will now say and see that, wow, I need patience in myself when I have a project to do. I need patience and love and
Yeah.
care and grace when I'm facing these kinds of challenges. So I think that they learn through watching.
Absolutely.
um, and it's not about what we tell them to do. And usually when we tell them what to do, it goes in her and out the other,
Yeah.
because most children are very visual. They need tangible experiences that they can actually feel, and feel those kinds of support and connection. My question to you, what are some strategies that you might have, in terms of what do we do when our children dysregulated?
Yeah. We spoke around this quite a bit, right? Again, modeling and things like that. But what I would say is listen to them, be there for them, make the time to talk. Don't just when they're say if they're just beating themselves about it, about something, don't react in the moment. And even if you did in the moment, you just because you were busy doing your stuff and you just said, just just get on with it. It's not a big deal. Even if we did that, let's catch that in the moment, and then let's realize that, okay, my daughter or my son's having a hard time about this. Let's make time, speak to them, and apologize. Say, I'm really sorry I said that earlier, but I can see how important this is to you. I can see how much this means to you. So let's talk about it. And say if they're a teenager, they might just go, "Oh, mom, just leave me alone. Go away." you know. Again, in that moment, if you can see that they are high in emotions, do leave them. Give them time to process that. Say, right now, I can see it is too much on you. I will give you space. I will give you time. But you know what? We do need to talk about this. So let me know when is the right time and we will talk, okay? And give them the space, let them be. And once they have processed it themselves, and if you have said that in such a loving way, I'm sure they're going to come back. They won't come back and say, Mom, now is the time to talk about XYZ. But they will say it in other ways, and they will try to be they will try to get your attention. They will try to get more of your time and think, oh, Mom, can we do this? Can we, maybe we can go shopping together. You know that, okay, here's the chance, here's the cue. Let me spend time, let me connect with my child. And I might get some time to talk about it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. It reminded me of, in mindfulness, I think that it's also very important to teach our kids, if you are knowledgeable around it, is to teach our kids how to breathe and be mindful of their own emotions as well, right? When somebody is dysregulated, the prefrontal cortex is actually hijacked, right? So what happens is it only when your child is dysregulated, the emotions are high, right? And so when the emotions are high, logic is gone. So I think it's really important that what you said is to allow some space for them to regulate. And what that might look like sometimes is just sit right next to them if they're little kids and touch and a hug, often without doing anything, and just say, let's just sit down together and do nothing. Let's watch TV or whatever, or just cuddle. And often their heart will calm down. And please don't force them to say, okay, I see that you're dysregulated. Let's breathe together. Breathe, right? It's not going to work. So forcing them to calm down will only making it worse. So I think sitting down with them, and to allow some space to let the emotion go through them, is really, really important. And being there and supporting them and listening. And then when they're regulated, that's when you start to talk and visit what happened, because now their brain is up and running and able to process information, because when they're dysregulated, they cannot process anything, and all they do is want to throw a tantrum, get that emotions out. And so if you stifle that, they're going to learn how to bottle those emotions. And what they're going to learn is that I can't show these ugly emotions or these heavy emotions, and I can't throw a tantrum because mom or dad or whoever the caregiver is gets mad at me. So therefore I'm going to just like be quiet and swallow it and go somewhere else by myself and process that. And when they go out on their own, when they're dysregulated, it's very critical for children developing what happens in the brain, what happens in their perceptions of how the world works. And that often when they don't get the right support in that moment, they form a perception in the world about no one is there for me. I'm all alone in this pain. No one loves me. No one really cares about how sad I am. And then they grow up, in their 20s and 30s, still thinking that belief system, because that's where the belief system starts to form. And they grow up as an adult thinking that I'm not allowed to express myself because people are not going to receive it in a positive way, or people are not going to listen to me. So I'm not allowed to do that. So, and then you go into a relationship with another person, learned behavior that I can't be vulnerable with this person because I'm scared that they're not going to be there to listen. It's because of that experience you had as a child that you got rejected. And it's not about what the parents did or not do. It's just that fine line, the moment of those fine lines where you needed support and you didn't get it because no one was there. So understanding and being aware that that is the possibility as a parent, you'll notice, and you'll have that connection with your child and say, I'm here if you need support, really do, and come back to me. Let me know when you're ready and we can have a conversation around what happened. Or set a time and say, why don't I come back in the next half hour and check up on you? Would that work? And when the child says, no, that's not okay. All right, I'll check up in an hour. Right. But it is they even though they say I don't want you here, they do want you there in a different way.
Yeah.
They want you there as a support, as a loving ears and heart and arms, not as a person to dictate how they should feel. So beautiful.
Yeah. And it's time as well. It's such an interesting topic, but that's our time for today. And we love doing this. We love this question. If you have any more questions around parenting, any tricky situations, any tools you want us to share with you, send us your question. Send us anything that's on your mind, and we would love to answer those questions. And yeah, have these amazing discussions. Next week we on Wednesday. So every last Wednesday of the month we have a workshop, and this workshop is all around comparison, knowing more around yourself. Are you acting because you are comparing yourself to others, and that's what we believe that needs to be done, or are we acting from within, knowing who we are, what we want to do, and move forward in life. So we start our January with our first workshop of the year, focusing on ourselves.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
So please join our group. And yes, and if you see this, do DM us if you'd like a link to join our workshop. It is free to join, and there are amazing people on there that we can connect together, and we can all be ourselves and share.
Beautiful. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.